Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is calling Iran's recent test firing of ballistic missiles extraordinarily aggressive and audacious. The Israeli leader urged the United States and Great Britain to set clear boundaries for the rogue Islamic Republic. Following a request by Jerusalem, Washington convened an emergency session of the Security Council to investigate whether the drill violated resolutions related to the 2015 nuclear deal brokered by the Obama administration. Shortly afterwards, Iran conducted yet another military test of its missile and radar systems in open defiance of a new set of sanctions imposed by President Donald Trump. A high-level official in Tehran warned that only 7 minutes are needed for the missile to hit Tel Aviv. And the head of Iran's Revolutionary Guards threatened the U.S. directly by boasting that the hardline Islamic Republic's defense capabilities would make America or any other enemies regret any incursion. Iran frequently writes death to Israel and down with the USA on its rockets before they're launched. During his election campaign, Trump vowed to stop the radical regime's missile program, which is one of the largest in the Middle East and believed to be capable of delivering nuclear payloads.
Iran also topped the agenda during talks in London between Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and his British counterpart, Theresa May. After being warmly received, the Israeli leader reiterated his hopes of forming a U.S.-led tripartite response with Britain to counter continued aggression from Iran. The Israeli leader said that he's not only welcoming U.S. President Donald Trump's insistence on sanctions against Iran, but he's calling for all responsible nations to follow suit. Netanyahu added that it is imperative that these repeated provocations by the hardline Islamic Republic not go unanswered. Turning to the peace process with the Palestinians, during the Downing Street talks, May said that while her country remains committed to a two-state solution, Britain recognizes Israel's right to live free, safe from terrorism.
A new bill has been introduced in the U.S. Congress. The measure is described as the strongest legislation yet to ensure that American tax money can no longer be used to reward Palestinian terror attacks against Israeli civilians. The No Bonuses for Terrorists Act of 2017 was sponsored by Republican Representatives Ted Budd and Mark Sanford. The two lawmakers said they were motivated to take action after the $224 million last-minute payout to the Palestinians by outgoing President Barack Obama. The bill requires the Secretary of State to certify to Congress that the Palestinian Authority and the PLO have ceased all financial rewards to terrorists and their families. If the State Department is unable to confirm that, then all of the funds would be redirected to Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system.
Israel's Mossad intelligence agency chief, Yossi Cohen, and acting national security advisor, Yaakov Nagel, have reportedly been holding behind-the-scenes consultations with the U.S. National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, and several other American officials. The meetings are believed to have begun just after Donald Trump's election in November, and the most recent round was held just a few weeks ago in Washington. The talks are said to have centered on Iranian violations of the International Nuclear Accord, as well as the Palestinian conflict and the Syrian civil war. The same issues are expected to be focused on when Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and U.S. President Donald Trump meet at the White House on February 15th in the two leaders' first face-to-face summit since Trump's been in office.
Israeli school children were sent scrambling for bomb shelters last week when Gaza-based terrorists fired a rocket towards a civilian population center in the southern part of the country. Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system was activated and successfully destroyed the incoming missile. The Israeli Air Force also responded by launching a series of airstrikes targeting a terrorist training camp and a security compound. Just ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to London, a British advisory body announced there was a record number of anti-Semitic incidents in the United Kingdom this past year. According to the CST Community Security Trust Company, which advises Britain's estimated 260,000 Jews on safety concerns, there were 1,309 separate incidents in 2016. That averages out at 3 each day of the year. That's the highest figure since documentation began in the 1980s. The latest findings reveal there were 36% more reported attacks than the previous year. However, the actual number is thought to be even higher due to underreporting. The CST said that an even spread of anti-Semitic acts throughout the year, rather than being tied to any specific event, indicates that anti-Jewish sentiment is becoming far more commonplace. The British Home Secretary published an action plan to tackle religious hate crime and allocated $17 million to help protect Jewish sites.
Israel Now News has brought you many stories about the enormous amount of help that citizens in a Jewish state are offering to Syrians wounded in that nation's civil war. And now the Israeli government has announced plans to take in 100 orphaned Syrian children who will be placed in the homes of both Arab and Jewish families. After 4 years of temporary status, the children can then become permanent residents and remain in the Jewish state for the rest of their lives. Neutral humanitarian agencies are making the arrangements since Syria has declared war against the Jewish state. Israel has provided medical care to well over 2,600 Syrians wounded in the fighting who make their way to the border of their so-called Jewish enemy almost every night under the cover of darkness for help.
An ancient Hebrew text is apparently set to remain at an archaeological museum in Istanbul despite the restoration of ties between Israel and Turkey. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has hailed the Siloam inscription as indisputable evidence etched in stone of the Jewish people's connection to Jerusalem. Scholars said the 2,700-year-old text validates the biblical account found in the books of Kings and Chronicles as to how King Hezekiah's tunnel brought water from the pool of Siloam to the city of David. The inscription was carved in limestone outside the old city in the 8th century before the Common Era. After its discovery in 1880, Ottoman rulers hacked the tablet out of the stone wall and took it to Constantinople in present-day Turkey. 2 other ancient Hebrew inscriptions unearthed in the Holy Land are also being held in Istanbul as state property. They include the Gezer calendar from the 10th century BCE, which described the agricultural cycle. And in addition, Turkey also has the Jewish artifact known as the Temple Warning inscription. It was found in 1871 and was once placed on Jerusalem's Temple Mount. The Turkish government has refused decades of repeated requests from Israeli leaders to return the treasures. As cyber hacking escalates around the world, the Jewish state is stepping up defense of its government, public, and private institutions. Cybersecurity experts are now busy designing what Prime Minister Netanyahu refers to as a digital equivalent of the Iron Dome, a reference to the country's missile defense program, which chalked up an impressive record during the 2014 conflict with Hamas terrorists in Gaza. While some of the new cyber defense shield systems are still in the research and development phase, others are already operational. The CyberNet pilot project is now up and running. The communication sharing program connects the National Computer Emergency Response Team with cyber defense groups at public and private financial institutions and economic organizations, so that any information about imminent attacks can be shared and countered immediately.
Israel, the light unto the nations, today faces attack from more than just rockets and terrorism. Calls to boycott, sanction, and divest from Israel, known as BDS, are a form of economic warfare that you can help to prevent. The Israel Allies Foundation has launched a public service campaign called Defeat BDS, offering educational tools and other resources that you can use to stand with Israel and help make a difference. Just visit the easy-to-use website at www.defeatbds.org.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful sunny day on our rooftop studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is David Rose. He's the International Director of Zaka. David, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
David, tell our viewers a little about what is Zaka.
Wow. Zaka right now is celebrating close to 30 years of working in Israel and around the world. And the idea behind Zaka started off by Yehuda Meshizav, a 11th generation born in Jerusalem. And the idea was to try and bring body parts and blood from terror attacks back to Jewish burial, whatever is needed according to the Jewish laws that's required to be done. And from that, 30 years ago, built into our organization is over 3,000 volunteers involved in Israel in any type of search and rescue, unnatural death, saving lives, and many other units that we have set up in Zaka for that purpose of bringing dignity to a person who was killed or trying to save his life beforehand.
According to Jewish law, a person has to be buried whole with all his parts before he can be buried. Where does that tradition come from?
The tradition comes from, in the Bible it says that man was created in the image of God. So when we come in to give respect to a person, when we come into a scene, and sometimes we come to scenes that are terrible scenes you can see with people in the most undignified way possible, we're looking at this person as the image of God. We're looking at him giving respect to God. So it's not just that human being, it's like something that we feel is a holy person, and we need to give him his most respect and treat him in the best way that we can do. And not just to pick up whatever we can, wash it away, and then treat it like a sack of potatoes, my own language, but that's what we believe in.
You know, during the time of the Second Intifada, Zaka was really in the spotlights because of the bus bombings that were happening here. And it was painstaking work to go and find each and every part and connect it to the right person. And how grueling a job is that for your volunteers?
First of all, it's years, experience. But we came from this to understand that although we're respecting the person who was killed, but we came to realize that it's far more than that. It's to the families itself, knowing that someone was there dealing with their loved one, knowing that someone really cared for the person and treated it and picked up wherever it can be. And when it comes to a burial and they have a closure, psychologically understanding that everything is there and being buried, for them, we think it's a much bigger, charity we're doing for them, helping them out in a way that they can feel that everything was there. Many times I met with families afterwards and they turned to us and said, thank you. Thank you for that simple thing of being there in that horrible moment and dealing with them and doing what we did. And that's the big thing that we do, is helping those families out and doing the grace of doing this charity of picking up and giving dignity to the dead people.
Zaka is a household name in Israel, but you're the international director. Why is it important that people internationally know about Zaka?
Okay, so over the years, there was many events that Zaka went to, not just in Israel. We went to, many years ago, to the Turkey, bombing in Turkey, and in Haiti, and in the earthquake in Haiti, and the tsunami in Thailand. And going there in a mission of, first of all, helping to find Jews, but then we saw this mission is not just helping the Jewish people in Israel, it's helping everyone around the world. The experience that we have today, that we can share with other people. For example, now in the UN, in 2016, we just got a recognition by the UN to go into scenes around the world and give over advice on humanitarian advice, if it's man-made disasters or if it's a natural disaster like a tsunami, etc. We come over and helping them out. So it's a message of Israel, how we can help other people out, and it's a universal message to everyone that we need to try and respect one another. And we come to a scene and we have a body over there and we're looking at this person, regardless if he's Jewish, Christian, Muslim, whatever it is. We come in there and we're looking at this person as the image of God. And that's the most important thing of Zaka. And that's something that we can share with everyone around the world.
Dave, there are literally tens of millions of viewers watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
Viewing audience is, today, to volunteer in Zaka, there's not much you need. You need to have time and willing to help one another. You can help out in your community, in anywhere that you want to be involved in Zaka. If you believe in the message of man was created in the image of God, your place is in Zaka. Come to our side of the table, come to volunteer, come be with us. And that will be a great way of you helping out your own community. To find out more information, you can go to our website. That's www.zaka.us. That will give you all the information about the organization, and now you can volunteer in Zaka. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Hello and welcome to the Return to Zion with Keren HaYesod. I'm Eliezer Moody Sandberg, World Chairman of Keren HaYesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Today, Ukrainian Jews are in great danger as they live in war-torn Ukraine. Help us fulfill biblical prophecy by bringing our brothers and sisters back home to safety. God bless you from Jerusalem.
I will even gather you from the peoples and assemble you out of the countries where ye have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. Ezekiel 11:17. In eastern Ukraine, over the past 2.5 years, a brutal and cruel war has been raging. A savage war without clearly defined front lines. Against this backdrop, the Jews of eastern Ukraine have been in peril. The donors of Keren HaYesod from around the world have heeded the call and have come to their rescue. Our supporters realize that the window of opportunity to rescue these Jews may slam shut. Lift up your eyes and look around. All your children gather and come to you. Isaiah 49:18.
We are here to support, all of us, the Jewish people who return to their homeland, to support each other.
These Jews must be extracted from burning towns, from raging battles, and from the chaos of eastern Ukraine, and brought back to their ancient homeland.
Я решила приехать в Израиль, потому что я последние полгода почувствовала свои еврейские корни и поняла, что я не могу больше находиться в своей стране, и я должна вернуться на свою историческую родину.
Корни говорят сами о себе, было рвение, плюс хотелось, чтобы сын узнал.
Воссоединение с семьей, наша семья здесь сейчас, папа, мама, сестра.
Большое волнение, но как-то у меня сразу, как мы прилетели, какое-то ощущение было правильности нашего выбора.
Для будущего нашего ребенка в первую очередь.
Keren HaYesod's friends around the world have been stepping forward to enable this life-saving effort to continue. Many thousands have already been rescued, yet many thousands still remain in eastern Ukraine. They must be brought out now. Through Keren HaYesod and our partner, the Jewish Agency, our dreams, our prayers, and our hopes are coming together in fulfillment of the biblical prophecy that foresaw the return of the Jewish people to their ancestral homeland. Behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the uttermost parts of the earth. A great company shall they return hither. Jeremiah 31:7. The situation is highly unpredictable, and we must not miss this chance to help. We cannot let them down. All possible resources must be mobilized in this effort. You too can play your part in this crucial mission as Keren HaYesod provides these Jews in distress with new lives in Israel. Join us. We must not forsake them in their time of need.
Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
Israel, as you know, is unique among the nations of the world for so many reasons. For one reason, we prefer not to be so unique. Israel is the only country in the world that has had the same capital for 3,000 years. And yet we're the only country in the world whose capital is not recognized by the rest of the world including by our primary ally, the United States of America. The American embassy is in Tel Aviv, not in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is essential for Jewish identity. It is mentioned more than 800 times in the Hebrew Bible, but is also essential for Christian faith. Jesus, according to the books of Matthew, Luke, and John, taught in the temple. He taught in the temple because it was the Jewish temple, because Jesus was a Jew living in the land of Israel. And there are many attempts in the world today, most recently by UNESCO, to deny the Jewish connection to Jerusalem and that land, deny us our identity as peoplehood. But we weren't willing to sit passively in the face of that denial. We fought for Jerusalem. We fought bitterly in 1948, and in many cases we lost. We were unable to liberate the old city of Jerusalem. And for 19 years, between 1948 and 1967, when Jerusalem was in the hands of Jordan, Jews were unable to visit our oldest cemetery on the Mount of Olives. We were unable to visit our holiest site, the Western Wall. And Jerusalem was divided by a wall. Then 50 years ago, this year, 50 years ago, Israeli forces reunited the city. We were attacked by the Arabs. We did not attack them. And in a defensive war, we were able to reunite Jerusalem and to reestablish, for the first time in centuries, free worship for the entire world. We stand with you today in upholding Israel's internal and divided status as the capital of the Jewish people, essential for our faith and for your faith. Happy 50th anniversary to a reunited, free, and eternal Jerusalem.
Lift up your eyes and look around. All your children gather and come to you. The biblical prophecy is unfolding right before our very eyes. The people of Israel are returning to the Promised Land after 2,000 years of exile. But millions of Jews are still longing to come home. Anti-Semitism threatens many of the Jews. We must rescue them before the window of opportunity slams shut. Bless Israel by supporting Keren HaYesod United Israel Appeal, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Together, we can fulfill the prophecy of the Bible.
Let us bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
We know that Jews have been living in Ethiopia for well over 2,000 years. There are many who believe that the Ethiopian Jews are actually the tribe of Dan that migrated south, followed the course of the Blue Nile, and settled in those regions of northeastern Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Jews have been extremely faithful under duress, under persecution, under harsh living conditions.
To be Jews in Ethiopia, really, it's not easy. We say that we have to arrive to Jerusalem, we have to be in our country.
Kids, elders, everybody. It was like the dream of Jerusalem. So once they heard that there's chance to fulfill this dream, it wasn't a question of if, it was a question of how to do that.
They belong to Israel. This is their homeland. They have to get back to Israel, so they have to come and join their family.
It has been said about people making Aliyah from Ethiopia. In a 4-hour plane ride, they travel 400 years in time. Because life in Ethiopia, specifically in the parts where the Jewish community live, is very different than life in Israel.
They come from remote village, come to the modern country, a very educational gap, cultural gap.
They came from the rural world. They were farmers mostly, and it is hard for them to get into the modern Israeli society.
The family life changes drastically. The child picks up Hebrew within a short span of months and becomes all of a sudden the guide and the interpreter for his family.
After 3 months, I could speak the Hebrew, the language. I wanted to prove myself as an Israeli, like my other Israeli friends, so I speak only Hebrew, and immediately I forgot my mother tongue, Amharic, and after a few years I couldn't speak with my mother. I had no language to interact with my parents.
You don't read, you don't write, nothing. That's the issue. So we need a lot of help. We need a lot of help.
It's not just about making Aliyah, immigrating, arriving at Ben Gurion Airport and saying, hi, here I am, I'm starting my new life. These people, in most cases, are like an Abraham. They left everything. And so just as God made promises to Abraham of what he will receive when he comes, so Olim that come to Israel have the opportunity to receive different klita, the Hebrew word for absorption, integration. Someone who makes Aliyah, who immigrates, it doesn't stop there. They receive and they need assistance in becoming integrated into Israel.
This is common mission. This is not only the Ethiopian community mission or the Israeli society mission. It's the common mission. It's interest of all of us to acting and to be care and to be part of it in order to make this happen.
My people dreaming to come back to be in Israel 3,000 years. That dream is realized now. So we have to keep another 3,000 years for the next generation. And so we have to create a new leadership, to build a good family, to serve Israel. That's my dream.
My dream is to be fully integrated into the Israeli society, for me, for my children, for the whole community of Ethiopian Jews. I'm very pleased and very happy to hear that there are many Christians who are helping right now in Ethiopia and in Israel.
Assistance that is given by the Christian embassy to help in this integration and to give the mentoring and to give the special education assistance and to give the opportunity and to express this faith in the people and in their destiny here in Israel is something that is very needed and has a tremendous impact.
To hear and Christians come to help the Jewish people. It's a dream, you know? How could it be? The Christian people come to help the Jewish people, the state of Israel. For me, it's really unimaginable.
Thank you, the Christian Embassy and Christians around the world, your support and partnership helping us to change life every day.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.